Hello, I'm Hugo Disler. I'm co-founder of Farming Secrets. We've been involved with farmers for many years, going back to 1970 or thereabouts. And we bought this property here at the Patch in 1986. And very soon after we came here, we had Andrew come up with this drawing of how our place should be. Initially, for quite some years, we took a very spick and span attitude to our property, and we still are following this plan with waterways down here, which we'll show you the top of this waterway later on today, and we've got another waterway down here. But since for the last 10 years or so, we've taken a far more natural approach as we learn from people who say it's far more important to have meadows rather than spick and span lawns. And we learned that from a number of people who have done that, including more lately Gabe Brown has done that too. He's converted his lawn in front of his house to a meadow which he mows or grazes off once a year. So we'll go outside and I'll do a little talk about an area of which does relate to this area up here, which has got thistles in it. And I will relate that back to a few points which is quite important for farmers to realise that thistles or various so-called weeds can be used to the advantage of to a farmer. It's all about recycling and getting good minerals back into the soil, and thistles are a very good product for that. We'll cover that in a few minutes. Here we've got what is the start of a food forest or syntropic farming, whichever will develop. And we've got a macadamia tree. I've got two more down there, and there's a spot for in amongst this stuff. Now, a lot of people, when they see property like this, they get absolutely horrified. Now, I'll explain one thing. Blackberries and thistles are regenerative plants. Under a thistle you get a lot of good soil, and they're also very good, both those products are very good to put in your Vermi compost bin, which I'll show you later. So instead of panicking about thistles, you simply cut them down and let them leave them on the ground. And the interesting thing about thistles from our past is that various people have found, or when we were selling natural fertilisers and stock supplements, two things that people who had thistles found out was very successful. One was slashing them, and the other one, believe it or not, was actually at the younger stages to spray them with fish fertiliser. And the reason they did that was actually to change the environment in the soil, and so the thistles found there was no need to grow. And also by slashing and laying them on the ground, they bring up minerals to the ground. The minerals go back onto the surface and start regenerating and cycling, and that is enough for the thistles not to want to grow. The thistles are growing here because this was bare soil about 6 months ago, and it's nature's way of sort of saying, we want to repair the soil. We're going to send out our army, and the army is thistles, and they should not be treated as a weed. They should be treated as your friend that is actually rehabilitating your soil. So I'm going to be slashing those in the next couple of days by hand and laying them on the ground. And with these thistles, they are very good, which I have already done, put them in the Vermi compost bin, which I'll show you just in the next few minutes when we get round to it. It's all shortcut stuff, all with no chemicals, all that actually is aiding to the way nature wants to work. It's all about recycling, getting Earth's minerals, basic minerals, bedrock minerals, cycling back into the system. What we've got here is sand, silt and clay, including rocks, and it's all about recycling those materials. And we'll have a wonderful food forest here. Here we have a never filled bin. It's taken from the book of David Murphy's Organic Growing with Worms. The bin's on a bit of an angle because it has slipped a little bit, but it is very, very heavy. There's probably about half a tonne of material in here. Now the secret of running one of these bins is, it's called an never filled bin because it's got air coming up through there, and things break down very quickly. Let me show the people what we've got here. What I've got here is a variety of things, but more recently I put all these dock plants on top. And as you can see, this was done late last week. It's already rotting down. Now I'm going to show you another secret about a compost bin. To make a compost bin be ultra efficient or very, very good, I put in two different minerals from two different containers. And as you'll see, I'll only put a handful of a mineral fertilizer. It's got rock phosphate, lime in it, potassium in it, all from original rocks. And so that's all I've got, right? Just one handful. Now, another thing too, to make it complex, I have got some seaweed here. And again, a handful of seaweed, no more than that, sprinkled on top. And to make that biologically active, which we'll talk about at a later date, because that's very important, the biologically activating minerals was actually invented by a chap called Julius Hensel around about 1983, or did his work, first publication at 1883. And what to make that biologically active, I'll just show you what I do. I just grab anything that I want. Fortunately, I've got some dock here, and dock is a fantastic product in that it's bringing up minerals from the soil. And what I want is many minerals in the vermicompost bin as possible. So what I'll do, I layer that. I'll put more on there later, but I'll layer that. And I just want to show you another product which is very, very good, just for growing, just for the vermicompost bin. It grows like a weed. It is exceptionally good for compost. So you just grab this, grow this stuff. You actually grow it for the purpose of making compost. It has other benefits too. It's used for wrapping around sprains or anything like this as a compress. I'll just think of its name in a second as I go over here. You saw me pick this comfrey, it was only a few steps away, and again I will layer this over the minerals, so the minerals get biologically activated by the fact that this comfrey is breaking down. And it's a fantastic way of doing a multiple of things. One, it gives the worms a nice cool start at the top, or sort of a more moderate temperature at the top. They love it too, and the worms will break down the minerals. And not only the worms will break down the minerals, the fact that this is turning to slop will start breaking the minerals down as well. So it's all about biologically activating the minerals. And down here, what we have here, we have an incomplete vermicompost. It's called a vermicompost. It's a little bit of stuff that's come from the top down. But on this side here, if I can show you a bit better, we've got, it hasn't rotted down completely. So we've got the worms have done their job, and there's a lot of material here that will harbour the fungi which we want going. We not only want bacteria, but we want the fungi, and it's the woody material that hasn't completely broken down where the fungi is going to originate from. That's quite important if you want a balance between bacteria and fungi, and that is quite incredibly important. And we'll show you later how easy you can make a sort of vermicompost tea, but a shortcut to it, which I think you'll be very excited when you see that, because it's so easy. We're absolutely blessed to have this property because we have a spring up the top, and we've got it coming through its natural way. And just up here at the length of this pipe, we've got a spring with a leaky dam actually, where the water comes out. So one of the things I'd like to show you is something that I've abbreviated, a somewhat complex process of liquefying worm casting. So I take a bit of water from our spring water. I've got vermicompost of two types. I've got the Vermi compost, which is quite with quite a bit of mineral vegetable matter in it still, and I like using this in particular because this product will harbour fungi, and I'll put a handful like this into a bucket, give it a bit of a swirl up. It's not the proper way to do it, but this is my way, which works very well. And then from what I've done in that, I've put a dipper of this only into my watering can, and then I will water it onto my plants, whatever plants I want to water, quite liberally. And you don't take that off and give it a bit better drink. So the plants do exceedingly well. Some seedlings I've got going. So here we have a shortcut to making a vermicompost tea, and it's a cheat's way of doing it.